what is the New York Times even thinking? Stu, how do you go back to being the paper of record when you take a sitting senator making a historic case, and that case has, as he said, about 60% approval, and they make it into the craziest, most dangerous idea that you could possibly imagine, because the left in their own newspaper took control of the editorial board? How do you go back?
Well, I mean, whether they were actually ever there is a whole nother conversation, but you don't go back from it because it is the same thing we've talked about for a very long time. You're never going to be woke enough. There's always somebody who's next on the hit parade. They never get enough. You never feed the mob until it's full. When you start saying, okay, yeah, we really apologize for, the NFL. We really apologize for not letting people kneel in the games or whatever they're trying to say now. Well, it's never going to be enough, right? You could make Colin Kaepernick president of the United States and they'd still find things to complain about. Now they're talking about dismantling the police department in Minnesota. It's, conservatives are always just first on the chopping block for these matters, right? Right around the corner is you. And, we've seen this with people in Hollywood. We've now seen it in people in journalism. The standards they have designed are completely untenable. So when it comes down to applying them to the situations that they're in the middle of, a very rational thing that they've done here. Tom Cotton he's a leader of a certain type of thought. He is he's a leader of the nationalist, probably, right-wing movement, conservative movement. And you might define it with nationalism. Obviously, Trump would be the number one guy on that front, but there's a lot of similarities between the way Tom Cotton thinks and the way Donald Trump thinks. This is an obvious thing that should be out there and being discussed, especially if you're the paper of record. When you have something that is a majority position in the United States of America, you can't even have a guy who is in the middle of making these decisions write an op-ed about it. That is not Tom Cotton's fault. That's your fault.
That's your fault. And
you were intimidated into abandoning it. That is the worst part about this. They actually did let him write the op-ed. They did print it, and then they retroactively, flog themselves into submission. It's pretty pathetic.
And how do you justify saying that you're a person of science or you're a person, that agrees in a healthy debate or anything like that, when you are silencing somebody like Tom Cotton? I mean, a clearly well thought out editorial, clearly in the mass is for it, and you silence it. It's not some raving lunatic like, Hitler, who I think you guys endorsed, and Stalin, who I know you made excuses for and endorsed. It's not like that guy. He's just saying, hey, we've used this law several times before, and they can't even print that. How do you think you're going to get anything of value or anything balanced from an organization that does this on their editorial page? This wasn't a news story. This was an editorial page, which is made to get you to think and to provoke. That's what it's for. What, are they only supposed to walk in lockstep and just say whatever the mob tells them to say? Boy, oh boy, is the New York Times in deep, deep trouble. And it couldn't happen to a group of nicer people.